Hey everyone, I'm Jonah,
I'm Connor.
and welcome back to Rank and File Sports. The Arizona Wildcats are bringing back Noah Fafita for another season, despite having one of the most disappointing performances last year, going only 4-8 after some people had this team projected to win the Big 12 and go to the college football playoffs. Overall, this is going to be a pretty difficult team to turn around as Fafita is really the only major piece that the Wildcats have coming back. Taterone McMillan, the other star player from last season, is off to the NFL draft. So they're going to have to find a replacement for him. And really, it's just tough to see this Arizona team doing much better than maybe even making a bowl game. Looking at the schedule, it's not going to make things much easier for him with Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, Kansas, Arizona State. I mean, those are all the top teams in the Big 12. They have to play all of them. Not great for Arizona whatsoever. Definitely not going to help their case in this season at all. So 7 games at home, maybe it'll help a little bit, but this schedule difficulty is going to be at least a 6 out of 10.
Starting the season off against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Love Hawaii. It's always fun seeing them play. I wish I would stay up a little bit more to watch them play a couple more times, but against Arizona, despite who they are losing, I think Arizona has them outclassed in every way. So 100% chance for the Wildcats to get the win here. Following week against Weber State, 100% chance here again. Skill gap is way too wide, even though Arizona's losing so many key pieces. Just having Noah Fafita back is going to be all they need to take down these non-conference teams. Then they get Kansas State at home. This is going to be a tough one to start the season off because Avery Johnson is back for the Wildcats of Kansas State. And yes, Kansas State did not have a successful season in terms of Big 12 standings. I think they finished towards the middle of the pack. They went 5-4. That's behind teams like Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, and Colorado, BYU, Iowa State, and Arizona State. Those were all the teams that were ahead of them. But Kansas State is still a very good team. 2 years ago, they were one of the top teams in the Big 12, and I think they're going to be in a very good spot going into next season. Avery Johnson is like Arizona with Noah Fafita. Avery Johnson is really the key guy you need to have back because he can do it all from the quarterback position. So with who they can bring in to elevate Avery Johnson to the best that he can play and maybe even give him a Heisman candidacy, then I don't see how this Arizona team is going to be able to compete with that. 30% chance for Arizona to get a win going into their first bye week.
After that, not going to get much easier with a road trip to Iowa State. And the Cyclones almost made the college football playoffs last season, coming up, well, about 30 points short to Arizona State in the Big 12 championship. Not close in that game, but overall, they had a very strong season. They're returning a lot of players from that team, and they're going to be very good again this year. With the home field advantage, I don't really expect Arizona to compete much in this one. Cyclones have about an 80% chance to win that one. Then they got Oklahoma State, who was one of the most disappointing teams in the Big 12 last season. And not much reason to think that Oklahoma State's going to be much better this year. Maybe they'll be able to turn things around, but I'm not really thinking it's going to be too great of a year for the Cowboys again. So this one we do actually have the Wildcats favored at about a 65% chance to win. Then you got BYU at home and the Cougars, again, one of the better teams in the Big 12 last season. Home field advantage will maybe help the Wildcats out a little bit, but I just don't see them competing with this BYU team. Only a 25% chance at a win for Arizona here. Then going on the road to Houston, another Cougars team here. And this Cougars team, while they have the home field advantage, Not so sure about Houston this year. I think they'll maybe have a chance to make a bowl game, but they're pretty much in the same boat as Arizona. I like Noah Fafita a bit better than Houston's quarterback. I'm trying to remember. It's
Connor
Connor
Weidman.
Connor Wiegman from A&M. He transferred this offseason. So I think overall Arizona should be maybe slight favorites here, but since it's on the road, that's going to lower it to a 50% chance. And then following their second bye week, a road trip to play Deion Sanders and Colorado, bringing in Liberty quarterback Caden Salter from the transfer portal. Colorado should be pretty decent again this year. Probably not quite as good as last season when they had both Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. I expect they'll take a little bit of a drop off, but with the home field advantage, they'll still be favored over Arizona here. Only a 30% chance for an Arizona victory.
After that trip to Boulder, they'll come back home to face the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas was kind of in a similar situation. They were they had a lot of expectations going into last season. Another team that was projected towards the top of the conference standings, especially with a quarterback like Jalen Daniels leading the team. And they finished 4-5 in conference, 5-7 overall. Not what they were expecting at all, but they still were a very competitive team. And I believe they got a win over Colorado during the regular season at home. So this Kansas team is a very solid team and returning a lot of guys from last season that was expected to be a dark horse team in the Big 12. So I think this Kansas team is going to be very good next year. I know Jonah agrees with me because we already put out their schedule preview and we were very high on them. So I think this is going to be a tough game for the Wildcats again. Just overall, this schedule as a whole is not very easy to see the Wildcats getting a lot of wins. And once again, Kansas is not going to be an easy game for them. 35% chance for the Wildcats to get this win at home. Then they'll go on the road to face the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati is returning their starting quarterback in Brendan Sorsby after a decent season last year, but nothing to really write home about. He's just a very good, solid quarterback that they've had for a couple seasons. But this is kind of like the Houston game. It's these both these teams finished towards the bottom of the Big 12 standings, and I don't see them really coming out of that rut. Just because Cincinnati is at home in this one, I think they're going to be slight favorites here. As just purely quarterback comparisons, I like Noah Fafita a lot more, but I think just with how much they have to replace with the hole that Tataroa McMillan is leaving, I really don't know how much of a chance Arizona will have in a game like this. So 45% chance for the Wildcats here. Then they'll go back home to face the Baylor Bears. Baylor is another team that we are very high on in this Big 12 conference. They finished 6-3 in the conference last year and were a very good team. And I think they're only going to get better going into next season, especially with returning their starting quarterback in Sawyer Robertson. So this is just going to be a really tough game once again for this Arizona team. Giving them a 40% chance in this one, maybe just because it's towards the end of the season, Baylor might slip up down the stretch, but I don't think they will. I think this Baylor team is going to be very good, and this Arizona team is going to struggle. Then finishing the season off against Arizona State at Arizona State, the in-state rivalry. This is not going to be a good game either. Arizona State is returning so many key guys from that team that won the conference last year and was basically a play away from moving on to the college football playoff semifinal game, but ended up losing to Texas. Big story is Sam Levitt is back at quarterback after leading them throughout that last season. Obviously, replacing Cam Skattebo is going to be a tough thing to work around, but with where Arizona State is at now, I think they're going to get a lot of good transfers, a lot of good recruits coming in just because of how good we've seen them just last season after they were picked to finish last in the conference. So I really like this Arizona State team. I don't think Arizona has much of a chance in this rivalry game. 20% chance for the Wildcats to finish the season off with a win.
Looking at the schedule as a whole, I think this is going to be another rough season for Arizona, especially, I mean, the Kansas State, Iowa State, and BYU games at the first half of the season are all going to be really tough and probably all three going to be losses. But just looking at how they have to finish the year, I mean, there's a potential for another 4-8 season. I do think maybe they'll be able to pull off one upset or so, maybe beat Houston on the road as well. So I think I like Arizona at about 5-7, finishing just short of a bowl game this year.
Yeah, I think 4 to 5 wins is where we're going to see them end up. I mean, looking at the standings from last year, they have to play the number one team in the conference, the number two team, the number three team, the number four team, the number five team, the number eight team, and the number 10 team. I know 10's a little stretching, but 8 and 10 are Kansas State and Kansas, who are both a lot better teams than what their Big 12 standings record was last year. This is a gauntlet of a schedule. And like you said, it's really in two specific areas at the very beginning of the season, the very end of the season. So this is going to be a tough season for Arizona. I think they'll win the games they're expected to win against Hawaii, Weber State, Oklahoma State, maybe get a win against Houston, Cincinnati, but overall, I this is going to be a tough one to watch.
Yeah, I think most likely, kind of like we were just saying, they'll probably fall just short of a bowl game, 4-8, 5-7, somewhere in there. Last season, they did go 4-8, and our projected win total is also just short of 6 wins at 5.6 wins based off of all of those percentages. Like we said, our prediction for this year is going to be 5-7, which is also in agreement with the Vegas line set at 5.5. Vegas is just favoring the under at minus 122 odds. So, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.